Hello, my name is Carlos Molina from Soldiercon, and today I'd like to discuss some background and why we do what we do with these events that are now going to be going across the country. For the last 5 to 6 years, we have been designated the people that do the car shows on Fort Bliss. And so we've had some pretty successful car shows. We've even had some car shows with drifting, and a lot of different people in the area come around for our events. We provide very good trophies, and the atmosphere is always great because it's on a military installation. Back in 2016, we started working with Todd McFarlane Group to see if they would allow us to do some Spawn vehicles, since during that time they were getting close to the 25th year anniversary of Spawn. Something that we never thought would ever happen, but it actually did. And while this was happening, we were also asked to see if we can do a Comic-Con on the installation. Never done a Comic-Con before. But I figured if I was already doing car shows, and I've done car shows for over 2 decades, I didn't think Comic-Cons would be that much difficult. I was very, very wrong. Needless to say, we did the Spawn vehicles with Mr. McFarlane's blessing, and at the same time, we started integrating comic characters, comic artists, and comic creators into our events. And instead of calling it a car show, we called it Soldiercon, because it infused the fandom of comic guys, the enthusiasm of cartooners, and also the creativity of cosplayers. So we thought it was a very, very good melding of different entities and industries and creativeness, and we felt that everyone was going to be having a good time. And after a few iterations of Soldiercon, we determined that this is what we wanted to do, and we wanted to create an event for not only the military on Fort Bliss, but an event that would also impact different military installations in the U.S. I want to go into my background a little bit because I understand why it's kind of difficult for dependent wives or husbands when their significant other spouse is deployed. When I was dependent myself, my dad was deployed several times, and he went twice to Vietnam, and he also deployed while we were in Germany. Well, while we were in Germany, whenever we had to go somewhere, it was like a logistical nightmare. You know, my mom had to take care of 3 kids, get everything ready for the day for the 3 kids, and then either, you know, go on a Bahnhof or find a ride to go somewhere, and it was just difficult. Here in the States, just, you know, for an example, in El Paso, once you get all the kids into the van and you go across town to the convention center, before you can step into the Coliseum, it's costing dependents about $100 just for an event. So we said we're going to bring the event to the installation so everybody can have fun and everybody can see these comic creators, these cosplayers, and, you know, just enjoy the whole comic fandom that we enjoy ourselves. And our first major event occurred like 2 or 3 years ago, and since it did so well, we continue infusing the comic creators and the cosplayers into our event. Last year in 2018, it was the first time that we actually invited a celebrity to come to the event. We also had comic sellers coming in from not only deep into Texas and in Mexico, but also from California. We had a huge amount of cosplayers that came to the event, had a cosplay competition, had the car show going on at the same time, and people getting signatures from the guy also known as Hector. And from there, we went on to do another event at Wet n Wild, which is a water park here in El Paso, Texas. And we had a car show and also a cosplay competition. That went off very well. And so we wanted to continue with the branding of Soldiercon, and decided to do a mini event, a one-day event earlier in the year. And why we wanted to keep continuing the branding of it, because one of our goals is, like I mentioned before, we want to branch out to a lot of military installations and provide the same type of entertainment that we're doing here on Fort Bliss to other military installations like Fort Campbell, Fort Eustis, all the three in San Antonio, wherever we're invited. We're actually going to be going to Fort Carson in a couple of months. But the overall goal is to bring the same type of enjoyment and fandom and excitement to those that are stationed overseas. Bring some creators, some artists, maybe some very well-known cosplayers, and do a tour to different cities like Longstuhl, Frankfurt, Germany, Vicenza, Italy, who knows, Bangalore, and provide the same type of Comic-Con atmosphere to those soldiers that are away from home for, you know, anywhere from 2 to 3, sometimes 6 years. And that is our main goal with Soldiercon. So in 2016, we had a very, very crazy idea to pitch Spawn vehicles to the Todd McFarlane Group. Back then, we didn't know how big of an automotive buff Mr. Todd McFarlane was, and we're very, very fortunate that he is a big car buff. We wanted to do a Spawn Mustang because we were coming to the point where it was going to be 25 years of Spawn, the creation of Spawn, the comic icon, anti-hero, whatever you want to call it. And so we thought it'd be a great idea to pitch, you know, a Spawn Mustang. Needless to say, we were granted permission to do the Spawn Mustang. We actually ended up doing 3 different iterations of the Mustang. We also did a Violator Hunter Jeep, and we had the opportunity to build Jake's CRZ, Jake being Todd McFarlane's son, built his CRZ. So 3 of those vehicles went to SEMA, did awesome, and a lot of people were surprised that we had that type of theme with the vehicles going to SEMA. And a couple of them are actually in magazines right now. Well, during that time frame that we were working with the Todd McFarlane Group, the director of AAFES asked if we can actually do a Comic-Con infused with our car show or do one separately. And so I had the experience with car shows for over 2 decades. I didn't think that would be that big of a deal. I was very, very wrong. And I agreed to do a Comic-Con since we had already brought in different comic artists and vendors to the past car shows. So being it was going to be a totally different entity than just a regular car show, we came up with the branding of Soldiercon. And the Soldiercon is, like I mentioned earlier, the infusion of comic fandom, tuner enthusiasm, and cosplay creativity. So we have 3 major elements into one event. Had very successful mini events, but the first event where we actually started bringing in people from outside of Texas to the Soldiercon was last year. We had Noel G, also known as Hector in all the Fast and the Furious movies, an actual celebrity at the event. We had different comic resellers coming in from not only inner Texas and New Mexico, but also California. And we had a lot of different cosplayers and comic artists from the actual El Paso area. It was a great event. We culminated it with the awards of the car show and the cosplay contest where several contestants won awards. And since that went so well, we were asked to do the same type of event at a water park here in El Paso. And so we brought in the car show portion and the cosplay portion and called the event a Soldiercon event. Earlier this year, we had a Soldiercon that was a one-day event back in February because we wanted to keep the branding of Soldiercon. We wanted to keep everyone knowing what Soldiercon was all about because, like I mentioned before, we want to go to a lot of different other military installations and provide the same type of entertainment that we're doing in Fort Bliss. This last Comic-Con, we had actors like Sam De La Rosa, David Roman were there. And we, had some actors from El Paso come in. We had some voice actors. We had the 501st come in as well. We had some cosplayers from Juarez come over. It was a really, really neat event. The only regret that I have is I didn't make it a 2-day event. I only made it a 1-day event. Again, what I was trying to do is just keep the brand alive and keep reminding everyone that we were still here. Our near-term goal is to go to a lot of different other military installations, but our long-term goal is to actually bring some creators, some artists, and possibly some very well-known cosplayers overseas to the soldiers that are stationed in maybe like Ramine, Longstool, Vicenza, Spangalum, and do a little tour so we could bring that comic feel to the soldiers that have been away from their hometowns for sometimes 2, 3, or even up to 6 years, and bring that same type of excitement to them. And that is our long-term goal, and I'm pretty sure with all the positive energy that Soldiercon is bringing for the last 4 years that we're going to be able to do this. So for this year, on the 29th of June, we're going to be visiting Fort Carson, Colorado. And we are going to be bringing the car show element as well as the cosplay aspect of Soldiercon. In addition to that, we're going to have a very, very exciting time with the Red Bull stunt team. I believe they're bringing out their motorbikes, but I haven't been told exactly what's going to go on. All I know, it's going to be very, very fun for whoever attends. After that, we're going to start prepping for our major event, which is going to be in Phoenix, Arizona. And that's going to be a 2.5-day event. It's going to start on the 25th of October, and it's going to end on the 27th of October. We plan on having all the major aspects of Soldiercon. We're going to have a major show, car show. We're going to have a big cosplay event, and we're also going to have a lot of different comic artists and comic creators. So we hope you come out to that event. Following on SEMA is what we're really known for, building vehicles for SEMA. We are hoping to do an event in Las Vegas towards the end of November. In 2020, we're slated for a big event at the Fort Bliss Museum in March, and then we're hoping to do something either in February or in April in Fort Campbell. And again, like I said, we're just going to continue growing and going to a lot of different military installation and bringing the same type of fun that we're doing here in Texas to as many other states as we possibly can. I want to thank everyone for actually listening to everything I had to say on the background of Soldiercon and why we're so excited about doing this event outside of Texas and going to different military installations, different larger cities, and bringing all this creativity surrounding cars, cosplay, and comics. But I'd like to invite you also to visit our website, soldiercon.com. And for those of you that keep a PDA with you at all times, on our social media, at Facebook and on Instagram, let us know what you think of what we just discussed today. If you have any questions whatsoever, shoot us a DM, shoot us an email, or just get a hold of us and ask us. We'll be very, very happy to answer any questions and hope that you can contribute to the success and growth of Soldiercon. Until then, keep it tuned.
Trembling, pulling me out, twisting, trembling, pulling me out, twisting, trembling.